Hello Flosstube, welcome to my channel Bumble Stitches. This is my third Flosstube episode on my channel. My name's Nicola and it's lovely to share some talk about my stitching with you today. It's Sunday the 8th of November, which here in the UK is Remembrance Sunday. It's a beautiful day, really nice and bright and not too cold. As you can see, the birds are out and about in the garden. I know lots of you comment on seeing the birds. They're a little bit unhappy at the moment because the feeders are quite low, so there might not be as many visitors as normal. And actually last time when I just finished my last Flosstube video, when I was packing everything away, there was actually a pheasant landed in the garden. So that was a shame that you didn't get to see him. So he's quite a magnificent male pheasant wandering about in the garden there. And we do sometimes have the squirrel, so you might catch a glimpse of him as he's busy getting all the walnuts from the tree in next door's garden. So I hope you've all been well. I hope you're keeping well. It's been an odd couple of weeks since I last spoke to you, to say the least. We've now entered our second lockdown here in the UK. Well, so in England, there's obviously different restrictions for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland as well. But here in England, we're certainly on lockdown for a month until the beginning of December. So that means that all non-essential shops are closed and you are only supposed to go out for sort of a valid reason, sort of to go to work. The schools are still open and you can go to work if you're not working from home, and you can go out for food shopping and things like that. But other than that, everything is on lockdown, and sadly I won't get to see members of the family for a month. So it's difficult times for a lot of people, and I hope that you are if you're in the UK and you're under lockdown, that you're doing well and you're bearing up. I think our hobbies really do help, and I mentioned this on Instagram on a post I put up, that it really does make you thankful that you have a hobby that you can get into and takes your mind off things, even if it's just for a little while, and you can escape into your craft and just get a little bit of happiness there. So I wanted to say thank you to all the new subscribers that I've had here on my Flosstube, and all the comments and likes and everything that you've done is so very much appreciated, and it's still such a wonderful thing to be doing. I'm really enjoying doing these Flosstubes for you, and I hope that you enjoy them too. I've made a couple of notes, so you've all seen me referring to notes that I've got just down here on the table, because I wanted to say a couple of thank yous to people who shouted me out and mentioned me on Flosstube Channels and on the internet generally. So I'll just read them out because I don't want to miss anybody out, because I made a little list. So the first is Lisa from Cross by Floss, and she mentioned me on her channel, so thank you Lisa for that. Tina of Fancy Lady Cross Stitch is another UK Flosstuber. She also mentioned me on her channel. So it's just a bit surreal to hear people mentioning me on their Flosstube channel. So thank you for that, Tina. And Olivia of Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, who gave me a shout out on her Flosstube channel. And having been recently binge watching all of Olivia's Flosstubes, I was really taken aback to hear me mentioned on there. So thank you, Olivia. That again is very much appreciated. Another mention that I wanted to just do on here is I was watching the Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube the other day. They do a live stream this Wednesday just gone, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK is when it goes live, but I couldn't actually watch it live, so I caught up with it in the evening. And I do often have the live chat playing on my iPad as well, so I can just see what people are chatting about during the live stream. And the Pokey Little Pineapple, I don't know what your name is, but she mentioned me in the live chat on that Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube the other day. So, and obviously I wasn't live, so I couldn't thank you there and then for giving me a little shout out. So I saw it in the evening. Obviously it wasn't live, so thank you for that. I don't know what your name is, but Poker Little Pineapple, thank you as well for giving me a shout out. Okay, so I did a giveaway on the last episode for a PDF chart from Little Dove Cross Stitch, who is local to me here in Suffolk and was the designer of the All Hallows Eve fully finished object that I showed on the last episode. And I wanted to do the PDF giveaway so that it could be completely international. There was no sort of shipping charges to worry about, or I know that the post and couriers are all up in the air at the moment with COVID. So I did the giveaway and you guys were amazing with all your comments. I asked you to tell me what you were stitching on, and there was such a diverse range of charts and things that you're working on at the moment. It was really good to read those. I did read them all. I haven't commented or made any sort of reaction that you can see on your comments because I didn't want to interfere with the random comment generator. But I have done that this morning. I put all the comments into the random comment generator that you can Google. And the winner of that giveaway is Jennifer Wells, and I'll put your details down here on the bottom of the screen. So Jennifer Wells, you said you're stitching at the moment a funny quote chart for your sister. So I hope that that's coming along really well and your sister would appreciate it. So Jennifer, congratulations. If you could contact me, the best way is via my Instagram messages, and I'm Bumble Stitches on Instagram as well. Drop me a message on there. If you're not on Instagram, just drop another comment under this video, today's video, and I will I'll get back to you and sort out an email address or something. But if you can contact me on Instagram, and then you can choose the PDF chart that you want from Little Dove, and I'll arrange for that to be emailed to you. But thank you everyone for entering. That was really good fun to read all your comments. Okay, so that's all the I think that's everything that I wanted to cover in the introduction to the video, and I think it's about time we had a little look at some of the stitching that I've been up to in the last couple of weeks. So I have a fully finished object to share with you, and it's the Feels Like Home, which was a stitch along from Fat Quarter Shop back in the summer, and I've finished it off as a cushion or pillow, just quite simply. I really had the urge to get the sewing machine out. The sewing machine was calling me. I've been doing a lot of cross stitching, obviously, because that's all I can think about at the moment, and been neglecting my sewing machine. So I thought I could kill two birds with one stone, get a nice fully finished object for my cross stitching, and also do some sewing. So that's what I did. This is just really simply finished. I've used a couple of strips from a jelly roll. This fabric, I think from memory, is Sherry and Chelsea for Moda, and I think it's the Sweet Summer collection. So yeah, just a couple of jelly roll strips, and I thought this colour went really nice and picked out the blue, and there's a little bit of green here as well which picks up the leaves quite nicely. So just, as I said, really straightforward, just top and bottom and side borders. And the back is just an envelope style back, and this fabric is also from the same collection. I thought with the grey it was nice because there's quite a lot of grey on the front for the house and for the fence. I did have a comment on my Instagram. I showed this on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I did have a comment from somebody asking me about the colours that I used for the fence. As I mentioned, I stitched this at the beginning of the first lockdown that we had, and I couldn't get out to the shops, and I had to rely on what I could get online for floss, and having newly sort of come back to cross stitching, I didn't have a huge amount of floss here on hand, and I couldn't get all the colours, so it's a combination of Classic Colourworks and also DMC. But when I started, I couldn't get the original DMC colour that was called for in if I just have a look at my notes, I think the original pattern called for the fence to be done in the classic Colourworks tabby, which I couldn't get, or DMC 762, which I also couldn't get at the time. So I made a substitution with DMC 415 and 762, which I've got here. Let's pop that down a second. Which I've got here. And I went for 2 colours because this was the closest I could get to the called for. And when I started stitching on this, I think it's a Lugana fabric, it really wasn't showing very much. So I decided to do like a shadow line with the darker of the 2, which is the 415, just to give that sort of like light and shade effect on the picket fence, which I think worked out quite well. So if anyone's interested, those are my sort of colour changes on there, although the whole thing is a bit of a made up sort of colour palette from Stash and from what I could get to try and replicate the pattern and the design as closely as I could. So that was a really nice morning sewing, really simple to do. If you wanted to do a finish like this, there is a video on Fat Quarter Shop's videos for finishing a cross stitch into a pillow like this, and it doesn't take a lot of fabric. It's quite simple to do, and it's nice to get this finished off because it had just been draped over the chair in the craft room, just as a a piece of cross stitched fabric. So it's really nice to have got that one done. Okay, I'll pop that down. So I've been stitching on a few projects since I last spoke to you, one of which is a new start, and it's nice now because previously I was stitching on some Halloween things and trying to get them done before Halloween, so I feel a little more free in my stitching now, and it got me thinking to sort of like rotation and how you plan your stitching. Do you just stitch on a whim on what you fancy stitching on, or do you try to work certain days on certain projects, or what best works for you? Because at the moment I seem to be sort of not really a bit flim-flamming between one project and another. So I'd be interested to hear how you plan out your stitching, or if indeed you do have a plan. So do let me know in comments, because I would be interested to hear what you all do at home. But let's have a look at what I have been stitching. The first thing I'll share with you is a new start. Sorry, I'm just reaching for the bits and pieces. And okay, I think I'm there now. Right, so this is my small start on All Creatures Great and Small. Move these loosey-goosey bits. And this is a pattern by Barbara Anna Designs. And you can see I've made a very small start. Although this is, I'm stitching this on a 32 count. If I can get this nice and straight would help, wouldn't it? On a 32 count fabric, which is the first time I have stitched on 32 count. So it's quite a big deal for me really to be stitching on a count that high. And so far so good, I'm really enjoying it. In actual fact, I'm not using the magnifier, which I'm astounded by. I'm finding with enough light, I can actually see where I'm meant to be putting the needle, and I think your eyes really do, you can sort of train your eyes when you're cross stitching to see sort of like the weave of the fabric and where you need to be stitching. I think it's almost like practice, isn't it, like anything. So that's my start. I've started a little bit of the border here, as you can see, this rather strange looking child that looks a little bit like Humpty Dumpty, and just working my way across. Now this fabric started life as a 32 count white Murano fabric from Zweigart. I'm just going to find now I had all these bits and pieces ready to show you, and my organisation seems to have let me down. So let me just see if I can find what I wanted to show you. Yes, so it started out as this, that I just picked up in Hobbycraft the other day, or a couple of weeks ago. Very, very bright white. So I followed the tutorial that Michelle has on her Flosstube channel for Michelle from Mama Loves You GB. She did a really good tutorial video on dyeing with walnut crystals. So I bought some walnut crystals from eBay, and these were just like a couple of pounds. I didn't get many because I didn't know how I'd get on with it, and all I've dyed is that one piece of fabric. And I used the technique that Michelle describes in her video, where she pops the fabric into a plastic bag and sort of scrunches it up. And as you can see, I got quite a lot of mottling on here. And at first, I wasn't really quite sure. When it was still wet, I thought it was a bit too dark in places. But once it dried and I'd ironed it, I actually really like it. It's showing up much more mottled in this light. It is quite bright and a little bit shadowy in here today. But I was really, really pleased with it. And I think once the whole sampler is stitched, it will look really nice. I'll show you the pattern. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with this. I did actually see this, I was watching Laurie Holt's Flosstube about a week or so ago, and she showed her finished All Creatures Great and Small, and it was stunning. So that's the design by Barbara Anna, and as you can see, I'm just up in this little area here. I need to really concentrate on getting bigger pieces of fabric though, because as you can see, I've got enough space this way, but not a huge amount of space this way, so it's going to need a little bit of creative finishing. I'm not sure if a good framer could cope with that, or if not, I'll have to see what I can do myself and brush up on sort of lacing and finishing techniques like that. But I can't put this project down at the moment. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm using, the pattern calls for anchor threads, and anchor threads, I could find them in the UK online, but they seemed really expensive for something that's, just a commercial thread. So I thought I'd go for the DMC option, and I've popped it onto these, what are they called, floss drops? I don't know, I've got the packaging here. Yeah, thread drops, which I bought online from, I can't remember the name of the company, Frame and Hoop, I think it was. So I popped all the DMC on there, and they're a little bit of a tangle, and it's much easier because they're all cut in lengths, so I don't have to mess around. Because I've been struggling with organising my floss. I had a lot of my DMC on the little bobbins, but I find that pulling off a length of thread and then cutting it, and they're all sort of kinky where they've been wrapped around the bobbin. So I thought I'd have a go at putting them on the rings like this, which it's very visually pleasing. It's quite nice to stroke them. It also was a good idea when I had them all laid out like this, because I dyed the fabric. I could actually compare against the fabric to make sure everything was going to work okay. So yes, that's my new star, All Creatures Great and Small, so I shall be probably working on that for some considerable time. But I do like the way that each part of the pattern is a little finish all of its own, really, to finish the people and then the barn and each of the animals. You feel like you've achieved something just by finishing each motif. So I'm very happy to have started that project. I'll just move this out of the way. And this is the problem when you have been floss tubing, which I'm sure many of you watching who do the same will know, you just end up with a huge mess to clear up afterwards. Okay, the next project that has had some love since I spoke to you last is my Jane Austen sampler. I'll just try and get this organised. and here we are. Now I hope one of the neighbours has just started doing some DIY and drilling and sawing outside, so I hope it isn't too loud and it's not too disturbing. Yes, so I've put in quite a few stitches onto this, as you can see, since I showed it last time, and it's coming along nicely, and I'm enjoying the fact that this is one colour. I'm stitching this all in DMC 317, which is like a very dark grey, on a 28 count cashel, and it's nice. You don't have any colour changes to worry about. This is my go-to if I'm sort of feeling a bit tired and just want to just thread the needle up. I've got one floss colour to go to and just keep going, but I'm loving the design. This is by Modern Folk Embroidery. I'll show you the pattern. This is still living in a little IKEA bag. I do desperately need some more nice project bags, and I have got one to show you in a minute that I made for myself. But anyway, so this is the pattern. I did show it last time. So it's Modern Folk Embroidery, and it's Real Comfort, the Jane Austen sampler. Now, another question for you. This pattern was, I believe, released or designed to commemorate 200 years of Jane Austen, from obviously her birth in 1817, and then 2017 when this was designed and released. So my question is, do I finish mine with 2017 on it, or do I finish it with the date that I finish it? So either 2020 if I really get my skates on and finish it this year, or 2021 if it's more likely next year. So it'd be interesting to know what your thoughts are. I know that obviously, you know, it's my stitching, I can do whatever I like with it, but I just want to be guided by, you know, general consensus of what would be the thing to do with the date on this. So let me know your feelings on what date you would put on it if you were stitching it, or if you have indeed stitched it, and let me know what you think. But yes, it's coming on really nicely, and the thing is as well, having started the All Creatures Weight and Small on 32 count, when I go back to this, which is on 28 count, it's just feels a really relaxing stitch. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the process of that one. So let's pop you back, Jane Austen. Try to keep organised. And I haven't really mentioned before, but I do stitch using either a hoop or a Q-snap. I don't stitch in hand. I did try it for a while, and I can do it, but I don't find it that comfortable. And more recently I'm tending to favour hoops more than frames, than Q-snap frames. So I need to think to get a couple more hoops, because I've only got a couple of hoops and they're quite small. But yeah, so everything that I've shown you so far has all been stitched in either a hoop or on a Q-snap. Right, my final stitching that I've been working on the past couple of weeks is my Prim Stitch series by Laurie Holt, which I love. I really enjoy this stitching above all else. And I did make myself a new bag to put it in, because, okay, the Ziploc bags are great. You know, they keep everything clean and tidy, and they're cheap, and, you know, you can buy a big box full of them in IKEA or wherever. But it's nice to have a pretty project bag, isn't it? Let's face it, we're crafters. We like everything to be pretty and super organised. So I did make myself this bag to keep it in. Now I want to, from the get-go, explain that this is not my design, this bag. I did make this, but I saw a bag on Instagram, and the Instagram account is Needlework from the Beehive, and I'll pop it down here. So all credit for this bag goes to Needlework from the Beehive. I don't know the lady's name who is Needlework from the Beehive, and she did have an Etsy shop. I missed her version of this bag I was too late. By the time I dithered and tried to make my mind up whether I should treat myself or not, it had gone. And I can't find her Etsy shop anymore. I did have a quick look this morning, so obviously I wanted to give her credit and give her Etsy shop a shout out. But it doesn't appear to be there. But yeah, so it's a shameless copy of the bag that she made. Almost the same fabrics. I happen to have them in stash. So I just used some Tilda fabrics and made the Union Jack design, and it's just got a stripe on the back, and it is sort of quite lightly quilted, don't know if you can see here, and just a zippy top. But I just fancied, you know, a nice bag, a square one. I've got quite a few of the vinyl ones, and I will make more of those, but I wanted something that was a little bit more sort of substantial. So anyway, enough about the bag. Let's have a look. That's my tiny hoop that I use, which is probably about, it's not even 7 inches, it's probably about a 6-inch hoop. I know it's difficult to gauge size when I'm sort of moving it backwards and forwards into perspective. But yeah, so I need to get some more hoops for sure. Okay, so this is my Prim Stitch series, and I have completed number 3, which is Peace and Plenty. I love stitching this angel. She's so sweet. She hasn't actually got any eyes at the moment. I need to add the French knots to that. And I did a little bit more work on the border. I've realised I really don't enjoy stitching borders. I just want to get on with all the gorgeousness in the middle, and the border is okay for a couple of inches, and then I'm sort of over that and want to move on to the next bit. So I need some sort of like border stitching fairy that will come in of a night time, like the elves and the shoemaker story, and stitch all the borders of everything for me, and then I can just do all the lovely bits in the middle. But sadly that isn't going to happen. So I'm all ready to start the 4th pattern in the series, and that did arrive literally only a few days ago. I think the post is really messed up getting to me from the States at the moment. So this is Kindness and Generosity, really sweet with the birdhouse and the bird and the scarecrow. So I'll be getting that one started really, really soon. But as I said, I'm just really enjoying that one so much. It's such a nice stitch. And I don't know if I mentioned this last time, I made some of these little these boards. I think these are basically the Laurie Holt design boards, and I think the small one she calls a bitty board. And it's one of those things that until you've got one, you don't know that you needed one, and now I almost can't stitch without them. I keep one with the needle minder on, which just goes right through because it's just foam core board. So it's handy for that. You can put all your little scraps of threads that you've pulled off the main spool or the skein or whatever, and keep them safe on there. And I just keep that in the project bag, and it's absolutely invaluable. The plan is, when I'm really organised, is every time I make a project bag that I make a matching board. But yeah, it's all time, isn't it? So that all fits nicely in my new bag, which I'm loving. And I feel happy that I've actually got quite a lot for me done in the past couple of weeks, along with stitching this and Jane Austen and the All Creatures Great and Small, and getting a bit of sewing done on the machine as well. That's always nice to get a little fix of machine sewing. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my haul section, and I'll just clear some of this stuff away and I'll be back in just a couple of moments. Okay, so on to the haul. It's always my favourite part of People's Flosstube because it's so nice to see what everyone's been buying and all the new charts that are out and about. So I've had a little bit of a Christmas splurge. Well, I say a splurge, just 3 charts. Actually, no, 4. 3 PDF ones and 1 sort of real life chart. So the first one that I wanted to show you that I bought, and I got this from Peakside Needleworks, is the Hands-On Designs Merry Chalkful. And I bought this after seeing the beautiful version that Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch had shown on her Flosstube. It was absolutely beautiful. And So I popped that one in my basket straight away. And I have splurged on the called for threads. So these are all the, so what have we got? Really Tealy, Perfect Pie Crust, 4-leaf clover, licorice red, and the 2 Gentle Arts ones, which are chalk, and these ones are all the classic Colourworks. So I bought the called for threads. I am waiting impatiently, I might add, for the fabric to arrive. I've ordered a 32 count. It says dark slate. It's a Zweigart fabric, which I'm waiting on from the Wool Warehouse. I'm sure they're inundated with orders and that at the moment. So as soon as that arrives, I'm going to get started on that little project. I say little, I don't know, I don't think it's that small. I haven't got the information on there, but I think on 32 count there's still quite a lot of stitching on there to keep me busy, and hoping I can get something done in time for Christmas. After watching the amazing Priscilla and Chelsea on their podcast, their Flosstube rather, yesterday, I went on their Etsy shop and bought these 2 PDF charts. So the first one is Snowed In with the Housewives, the series is called. This is Let It Snow, with the really cute little snowman there. And these call for, they are stitch count of 41 by 56, this one, 3 inches by 4 inches on a 28 count black even weave. And it's got classic Colourworks called for on the back of the chart. I'm sure they probably give a DMC. Yeah, they give a DMC conversion inside. So really looking forward to making that up. And the other one is Snow Delivery. This is another Snowed In with the Housewives. I think this is their new sort of series. And this one is again 3 inches by 4 inches on a 28 count black even weave. And I just think these are so cute. And I thought if I finish them in this sort of style, they'd be really nice on my little tiered tray. I've got a little two tiered tray that I bought from IKEA, so I thought I could pop them on those for Christmas decoration. And staying with Christmas, I have downloaded from Little Dove Designs the Christmas Wishes chart, and I'm going to try and hold it quite close so you can see. It's another long thin one, and this is exactly the same stitch count as the All Hallows Eve that I showed last Flosstube. So the plan is to stitch this one up, and then I can use the same finishing piece and just finish it with some Christmas fabric and little trimmings at the top to make a nice Christmas decoration. So again, I need to get cracking if it's going to happen this Christmas, but I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. If these things don't get done in time for Christmas this year, then so be it. They'll be ready for next year. I just want to enjoy what I'm doing. I've got some threads, everything's sort of in this bag at the moment, but I've got a mixture of threads. They're DMC, and I've got a piece of 28 count Monaco in tea dyed is the colourway that I'm going to stitch that piece on. So that's quite a few bits and pieces to be going on with, but that isn't all. And I'm totally going to blame Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts for the next little section of haul that I've got. And I have started collecting the Anniversaries of the Heart charts by Blackbird Designs. If you watch Olivia's Flosstube, you will have seen her progress on this beautiful piece, and she's stitching it all as one big piece and personalising it with members of her family, and I think it's absolutely stunning. And I plan to do mine as I'm sorry for the glare, the sun's coming through, as a piece that hopefully will be handed to my daughter with all information and dates and initials of members of my family on it. So there are 12 patterns in total, I believe. Now don't quote me on this, I'm doing this from memory, but I think there are 2 bonus charts that you get in a couple of the patterns, so you end up with 14, I think. So anyway, the first one is Snow Garden, which is absolutely stunning. The second is Valentine Rose. I just think these pieces are so beautiful. The third is A Wish for You. And I think these have been around since about 2010, I think. So some of these have been quite difficult. I've had to sort of go, some I got from 123 Stitch, a couple I got from Peakside Needleworks, and obviously I need to get the rest. I think I've got up to number 6 here. So what was this number? This is number 3, A Wish for You. Then Pink Hill Manor, which is number 4. And Farmhouse, which is pattern number 5. That is just beautiful with the birds and the colour of the house. And finally, oh no, that is it. I'm up to number 5, so I need to get quite a few more of these, and I'm going to have a rummage around and see who's got what in stock, because although I'm not ready to start it, I would like to know that I've got all the charts before I make a start, because I do want to do it as one piece, and I don't want to end up with you know, a missing one that I just can't get hold of anywhere. So I will be looking forward to completing the collection of these and getting the fabric and the floss. And I think I'm just going to concentrate on getting floss for each chart, you know, to concentrate on getting the floss for this one first. And I'm not sure whether I will go, it's charted for Gentle Arts, Weeks Dye Works, Classic Colourworks, as well as DMC equivalents, so it'll probably end up being a bit of a mishmash. And of course I need to make sure I get the right fabric. I don't think I'll be able to cope with much higher than a 32 count, but I'm sure it will look beautiful on that. I just need to make sure I get the right fabric choice before I make a start. So I've got a feeling this will be my New Year's start on this mammoth project. But I think because it's individual charts and it's a bit like the Prim Stitch series, if you do one each month, or you know, one piece at a time, it's much more, it's bite size, isn't it? It's much more achievable, and I think it keeps your motivation going much more to sort of get sort of mini finishes as you go along through the project. So that's is beautiful, and thank you for the enabling, Olivia. It's very welcome. And last but not least, I did start getting some threads ready for, I showed this last time, the Consider the Lilies chart. Now, since I totally still adore this chart, I think it's fabulous, absolutely breathtaking, but I think whilst I'm stitching All Creatures Great and Small, it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing to be stitching at the same time. I think there are too many sort of similarities. So this might go on the back burner for a while, and especially now Anniversaries of the Heart has sort of totally captivated me. I think that will be the New Year's stitch. But I did start gathering some of the called for flosses for Consider the Lilies. Let's just put them on the board. So I've got some Classic Colourworks here, and there's some lovely colours. I'm not very good at showing the flosses in a pretty way, am I? Yes, I've started gathering the flosses for those, and they can all go towards Consider the Lilies, or if I need any of them for Anniversaries of the Heart, then that's fine. I just need to start building up a sort of a collection of flosses that I can pull from for different projects. So that's a terrible job, isn't it, to have to start collecting beautiful hand-dyed flosses. So before I finish this video up this week, I just wanted to tell you about some floss tubers that I've been enjoying. I have made a list because I do watch quite a lot of Flosstube. I have been binge watching, I will confess, and I make no apology, because it's just such a joy to sit and watch beautiful crafters doing what they do best. So I have been binge watching Brenda and Laura from Brenda and the Serial Starter. amazing. Love those ladies so much. They make me laugh. I'm in awe of everything that they stitch. I'm enjoying some of their laws, like no chart can travel alone. I think that's just fantastic and a great excuse for getting more charts in your basket when you're shopping. So really loving those. I've been binge watching Olivia at Pumpkin Hollow. I've mentioned a couple of times already. So I'm enjoying seeing particularly Anniversaries of the Heart on its journey through all of Olivia's episodes. And Christy from Crosshatch Quilts as well. I've been binge watching all of her episodes. So I'm ready for more. Other floss tubers that I've been really enjoying as well recently, Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. She has some beautiful projects that she's working on, great finishing tutorials as well. Laurie Holt's floss tube was fantastic, and as I said, I was really chuffed to see that she'd completed all Creatures Great and Small. Celeste Creates, I love watching Celeste, and especially as she has all lovely quilting as well on her channel, so that's great. Fancy Lady Cross Stitch is Tina, who I mentioned earlier, really enjoying her videos. Cross by Floss, which is Lisa, who I mentioned earlier as well because she gave me a shout out, so loving what she's doing as well on her floss tube videos. And of course Michelle at Mama Loves You GB, she had a really enjoyable Halloween finished objects that she shared as sort of a Halloween special video, which was really good to see. So there's so many wonderful floss tubers out there. Do let me know if you find me via a floss tuber. Please let me know in comments so that I can thank them, and I'll try and make a list in the description box of these floss tubers so that if you wanted to pop on, I'm sure you know most of them, but if you don't, and then you can pop across and it's extra stitchy viewing pleasure for you. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up for this episode, but thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for all your comments and likes, and thank you for subscribing, and I will see you in a couple of weeks to share some more stitching with you. But in the meantime, take care. Bye.